All right, all you cool cats and kittens. This is Mrs. Gable. I'm in chapter 14, section 2, which is focusing on the labor movement. The section before this, we didn't necessarily read in class, but it was talking about the working conditions of people in factories or working really hard manual labor jobs, and how they were not being paid enough. They were working extremely long hours for many days. There was no such thing as a weekend at the time. And ultimately, they're working in unsafe conditions. So what section 2 focuses on is the labor movement. Labor meaning like workforce, okay? How they are rising up and how they are deciding to try and change things, okay? The biggest things they want to change is, increase their pay. They want to work on the dangerous and unhealthy conditions. Their homes are not looking good either. Their children have very little opportunity to attend school. All right. So this is the opportunity that they're starting for themselves to try and change all of that. So what they do is workers are going to unite for better conditions. Okay. In the early years of this industrial revolution, what you're going to see is this working class is going to set up their own ways of trying to improve their lives. So the biggest way is going to be unions. Okay, and unions are a group of workers who organize to protect the interests of its members. For example, we have teachers unions where you're a part of the union and the goal is to make sure somebody is looking out for teachers and nobody's trying to take advantage of teachers. So we see the first unions really start in the late 1700s, and by the time in the mid 1800s, you're going to see a lot more local unions across many cities. Okay. Now, the union's power comes from the threat of a strike. Okay. Strike is basically, I'm not working. Okay. That shuts down a factory, a railroad, a mine, whatever job it is. If nobody's working, the business doesn't make any money. Okay. So that kind of forces owners to sit down and discuss the issues. However, when we do really start getting national labor organizations, so no longer just local small town, but national, it's a little bit more difficult to get that many people to want to achieve the same goals. Okay. So, we have a lack of leadership and a lack of unity within the group, okay, in order to get this started. By the mid 1870s, there's an economic depression. Okay. And normally in times of economic crisis, people aren't making money. So there is high unemployment, which means there's a lot more competition for jobs. So business owners got smart and they decided to take advantage of this competition. And this is going to hurt or undermine unions. What they do is these businesses force workers to sign what are called yellow dog contracts. And those contracts are written pledges to not join a union. Or you refuse to hire the employee who doesn't sign the pledge. Another way that these business owners tried to undermine competition was by starting a list of union members and organizers and sharing it amongst other business owners. So if one guy got fired from the railroad company and tried to go work in oil, all right, the business owners could deny those workers, okay, because their names appeared on the blacklists. All right. Now, ultimately, they want the same things, but how they try to get it is different. Okay, so once the economy regains its strength, the labor movement is revived. Okay, we can focus more on not just getting a job, but trying to improve working conditions for that job. So we have the different ones called the Knights of Labor. We have another one called the American Federation of Labor, the Industrial Workers of the World. Ultimately, they all have different ways of how they want to achieve this. Here are their goals, the members, peak membership, how many people they had at its peak, and the strategies, the way they wanted to do it. So we see the Knights of Labor, the way they wanted to achieve their goals was to have boycotts or, refuse to purchase something or strikes, versus the American Federation of Labor. All right, they wanted a little bit more focus on negotiation. And if that's not working, strikes. The Industrial Workers of the World, they're doing something even different. They're even potentially sabotaging businesses and destroying work property as a strategy to try and get what they want. Okay. All right. So that's where that ends for section 2. Okay.